Boom, 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 boom. We're back. Hey, it's Sunday. Good morning. I am Fred Wellman, host of Too Late to Cancel with FP1. We are so excited. We've got the whole gang in the green room hanging out. We've actually been just hanging out for like 20 minutes, giving each other crap. Thought, hey, we should do a show. So here we are. It's so good to see you guys. It is another crazy week in America and the world and all those places. And of course, as always, we're having a great show for all of you. And we're so happy to be here. I don't know. The news is just nuts as always. We've got another week of no Epstein files. We're going to do a whole bit about the Epstein files, but my God, I think we've done 3 weeks in a row of Epstein files. So who knows when they're going to get back to that. But here's the really cool part. Our friend, youth correspondent Kyler, is on his way back to college. He's back in his dorm room. We had to get up with the guy. So let's catch up with youth correspondent Kyler as he wraps up his summer and heads back to college.
Hey,
Kyler,
Fred, how you doing?
Good, man. How you doing? Welcome back. How are you?
I'm doing pretty fantastic. You know, I'm ready to go back to school, so obviously I could be better, but I'm doing pretty all right.
I don't know, man. We didn't see you all summer. You screwed off all summer. I don't know what you were doing. Every time I called, like, oh, man, I'm busy.
Sleeping, Fred. Your show's early in the morning, man. I got to sleep. I got classes to wake up to in a few months. I can wait.
That's true. That's true. And your hair is different, man. We grew your hair out. What happened?
Growing a little bit, Fred. I've been gone. Things change every 3 weeks. You never know with this guy. You never know.
What I don't know where I'm going. So, Kyler, you're heading back to college. It's been a weird summer. What have you been noticing this summer? It's been kind of weird. What's been on your mind?
Yeah, it's been a weird summer. Look, Fred, I'll tell you what's been on my mind most recently. It's been hanging out with my friends before we go back to school, hanging out with my hometown friends. So, look, Fred, I'm hanging out with my friends last week, and we were watching South Park. I don't know if you've seen South Park recently in the news, Fred, but we watched a South Park episode the other day, and we were talking about it. We heard the release date of the Donald Trump-themed South Park episode. There's been a lot of backlash going on with that, but in the youth, that thing is trending. I mean, they had Donald Trump sleeping with Satan, I believe. I don't know what I want to think, and I don't know what crosses a line. That's not for me to call. I'm just a viewer of the media.
Well, you see, the next day, the Satan Twitter account put out a statement saying they was being smeared, and they're going to sue South Park for connecting him with Donald Trump. And I think that's a pretty accurate description of what was going on. And the whole thing was a little bit. And it was funny. I saw some outtakes. They didn't actually use AI to create his micro. Thingy. That was actually a finger puppet, believe it or not, which I'm sure we can't show the clip because we'll get copyright violated, right, JJ? No, JJ is nodding furiously. We cannot show the clip, not to mention the fact that it's disgusting. But nonetheless, we didn't do that. It's amazing how South Park's been 27 years or so now they've been going, and the kids are still watching it, huh?
Yeah, the kids are still watching it, Fred. I got my Colorado shirt on right now in theme for the South Park episode. Now, Fred, I want to mention something that you mentioned. You talked about the Satan tweet, the Satan fake account tweeting that thing. I want to talk about the White House tweets. What is the official White House doing? Why is the official White House, like, I'm not sure if it's just a random White House in a neighborhood or if this is the actual White House tweeting. I don't know who's behind these
White
tweets.
House. I mean, it's like the occupants, right?
Yeah, I don't know what's going on, but they tweeted that they were mad about the South Park episode, tweeted that it was childish, tweeted that it wasn't funny. And I'm just trying to decide, isn't that Donald Trump's whole campaign as being a funny guy? So I don't understand, like, why, we can't just, this double-sided stuff is not okay anymore. We can't just pick and choose when you want to support some things and some other.
But do you think they're trying to reach you guys? I mean, it seems like they're trying to reach the bros and, a lot of the AI stuff they're doing. And is it falling on deaf ears amongst your peers?
I don't think it's falling on deaf ears. That's unfortunately the thing, Fred. I think
scary.
that there is an audience for it. Now, I do think that audience is diminishing recently. I think that people are having a little bit of a media literacy wake up, realizing that people just can't say whatever they want. People have to have facts behind what they're saying. So I don't think that audience is necessarily huge, but that definitely is an audience. They wouldn't be posting it if there wasn't people that were believing that stuff. I don't know if you saw it, Fred, but there's like a big TikTok trend. I don't know if you're on the TikTok. I don't know if that's a thing that you do, but there's a big Jet 2 holiday trend. There's like a sound where somebody's talking about get your Jet 2 holiday. It's like a funny trend. Something funny goes on in the Jet 2 holiday trend.
Oh, yeah. Yep, I've been getting a lot of those. Yeah, people falling down and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, people falling on the jet skis or whatever or whatnot. Who would have thought that the White House took their spin on the trend and tweeted out a video of real-life ICE workers deporting people? These are these people's lowest moment of their life. Like, and you are putting this out on the internet like it's nothing? or just trends. I didn't get that one. I really didn't. And like I said, it's not falling on deaf ears. Gen Z is all in the social media and all in the technology, but I don't think that's falling at all. I don't think that's okay.
Yeah, and when I think when we talked last year, we talked a lot about you hang out with the international community at your college. You've got a pretty robust international student, group. I mean, it's got to be weird going back on campus after the summer of all these deportations and stuff. Have you seen any of your friends, or have you heard from them?
Yeah, I've been talking to my friends on Instagram. We communicate through Instagram DMs most of the time and call over there, and everyone's doing all right that I know that I'm close with. But I know that my friends have friends. Not necessarily, I don't know them personally, but I know someone, a mutual of a mutual, who has been deported from my school because of their student visa being revoked. Now, they were one of the students. They were one of the SEMO students. I go to Southeast Missouri State University, who were in the Missouri lawsuits. There was a Missouri State student, a couple Mizzou students, and a SEMO student who sued for their student visas being revoked for no reason. But yeah, Fred, it is
Wow.
really honestly a crazy environment going back. People are still in fear. Like, it's just wild.
Wow. Well, that's got to be a scary thing. So, what's on everybody's minds as you head back into the new school year, beyond grades and everything else?
We're trying to stay alive and we're trying to afford the economy. We are trying to,
Yeah.
Fred, I'm about to have my first apartment. Now, I ain't got a mortgage to pay down yet. I don't got to buy a house yet, but it's hitting me already. The
There it is,
economy's getting
man.
scary.
Affordability. I guess that's why Mom Donnie won. Matter of fact, we're going to talk about that with our guest today. So it works out. That's a nice transition that I did not set up at all. And I appreciate it. Well, Kyler, look, I'm going to let you go. I know you got things to do today, like moving and all that stuff. Keep in touch. We'll have to get some Man the Street interviews. Love to talk to some of your friends there this year. And welcome back to school, brother.
All right. Thank you, Fred. And stay tuned
Cheers.
for the Charlie Kirk South Park episode.
All right. I'll be right. Oh, there'll be nothing but teeth and gums. I can't wait. It sounds disgusting. All right, young man, get going,
Right,
get to work. We'll see you later. It's always good to catch up with Kyler. He's got pretty normal hair, actually. Usually it's blue or green. So, it's, I'm pretty happy to see, I guess he's settling in his old age. That's all there is to him. The thing is, as we do transition, is funny. I was watching this week on the internet, and there was a great conversation how people are complaining about, right now, Donald Trump's underwater by 30% on the economy and inflation. And they're baffled at Fox News. I saw an interview like, well, that's crazy because inflation is only 2% right now. And it goes to exactly what happened in New York when we talk about affordability. So I talked about a lot lately. It's not so much, it's not the price of eggs, y'all. It's the price of the whole damn shopping basket has gone up and up and up. And it isn't just, when we latch onto the beef price today or the egg price today. And so it really seems like people in Washington are baffled by this idea that there's young people and average Americans who are struggling still. So we got lucky because we're bringing back an old friend of the show. If you've watched the original podcast on Democracy, the FP Wellman, still every Friday night in the Midas Touch Network. Did I tell you guys to smash the like button, subscribe button? You need to do that right now. But before we do that, while you're waiting for me to bring on, I really want to bring on my friend Kaivan Shroff. Kaivan is a Democratic strategist. He's a millennial correspondent. You've seen him on MSNBC. You've seen him everywhere. He is a great young man. We're glad to have him. Kaivan, let's get you on the show.
Hey there. Great to be back.
There is easy. Man, it's been a while, brother. I can't believe it. It's good to see you again,
You got a fancy sign and everything now.
Look at I know we are upgraded. I mean, honestly, I think the last time we did, I was in a studio with like wall coverings. Now look at this, man. We are upgrading this show. I mean, you have no idea. We get fancier every week. That's all there is to it. Just because JJ, he's the brains of the operation.
I love it.
You did a piece today. That struck me. Your alma mater. You went to Brown University, and Brown University is one of the universities that just sort of surrendered to Trump. I mean, as a grad, I'm a Harvard guy. Oh shit, I did it. Damn it, JJ. Hell your beer, JJ. I gotta ship a beer to San Diego. But tell me about your feelings about Brown University literally surrendering.
Well, don't worry, Fred. I also went to Harvard.
There you go. See, there we go.
But I think it's really a shameful thing to see. One of the things that I'm most proud of my Brown experience is that I do feel like I learned how to speak truth to power there. It's a skill that I use every day in my career. And to see Brown cave when they didn't have to, they violated no laws. No court ordered them to do this. And by the way, I think most legal scholars agree no court would have ordered them to do this. They simply, out of convenience, decided to, write a check and try to solve all these problems. And it sends an awful message to students. But I think, moreover, it's a disappointing symbol, not just for all of academia, because if a $7 billion institution like Brown folds like that, what about the dozens of other schools that Trump has been targeting? And then you go beyond academia and you see the vast majority of institutions, whether it's companies or, obviously canceling Colbert, as we've seen, making these decisions to bow down to Trump, an authoritarian dictator at this point. And you have to say, Donald Trump is his weakest right now, I think. We'll talk about it a little bit more, I know, on some other topics, but his base is fractured on immigration. He's losing folks like Joe Rogan. He's fractured on raising the debt $4 trillion, on the Epstein files, so many things. So he's vulnerable, and now's the time to stand up for democracy.
Well, that's exactly it. It is. I wonder if there's I can't help but something. These organizations think, well, it won't be a 10-year thing; it'll only be like a year or 2 years, But again, it's what it symbolizes in a lot of ways, isn't it? It is. I mean, it's kind of funny wearing a Harvard hat and having people like happy to see me instead of like spitting, because at least they're standing up and fighting, and it's good to see the academics and the staff and the professors saying, yeah, keep fighting. We can't surrender.
I tell folks all the time, don't be surprised if Harvard turns around and makes a deal in case, because for all the rhetoric, these institutions are relatively conservative institutions in what they actually do decision-making wise. And I think you go ask any students on campus and they feel that way.
Which is just troubling. And that kind of goes to what we're seeing is these fights are happening for students. They're happening for institutions. They're happening for the reality of it. And of course, we're all coming off the Mamdani. Everybody's trying to wrap their heads around what happened with Zohran Mamdani and his campaign. There's been a million hot takes about that. But, the fact is, as he's trying to win over those traditional Democrats and centrists, it might be hard to keep his coalition together, but people are still scratching their heads trying to figure out how to duplicate it. I mean, suddenly Cuomo cares about affordability. I mean, what did you take from that, especially with your perspective as a younger analyst?
Well, look, I think that the message matters and campaigns matter and candidates matter, and people can't forget that. Incredibly charismatic candidate Zohran Mamdani is, but I think at the same time, you talk about his coalition, and it's interesting to see some people on the further left are already sort of breaking with him anytime he tries to move to meet moderates where they are or compromise. And of course, governing is all about compromising and getting those wins that you can actually achieve. And I do think it's interesting how sometimes a certain messenger can get heard saying the same exact message as another messenger. And, in defense of Kamala Harris, I was a delegate for Kamala Harris. I'm incredibly proud of her and the campaign that she ran on a short timeline. But, you talk about affordability. Zohran Mamdani didn't invent the idea of affordability 5 seconds ago. Kamala ran on making rent more affordable, on groceries more affordable, on education more affordable, on childcare more affordable. Not one issue did she not have a plan for to make affordability, the center of what she was pitching. And I do think some people simply couldn't hear it from her, despite, frankly, by the way, her saying some of the same exact lines on Israel that Mamdani has said. So I do think that's a dynamic that the party has to reckon with. I know a lot of people are talking about, we can never run a woman again, things like that. I totally disagree. I think that's absolutely the wrong lesson. And so I'm very interested to see how some future stars we have, like Jasmine Crockett and folks, make their case.
And one of the big things I think they're probably a wrong lesson, I'm actually sure of it because I've had this conversation with some consultants, is the idea that it was just because Mamdani was a digital native, if you will. There's this idea that just being a cool kid on social media is what did it for him. And I think you and I both agree that was just a part of it all. That, I interviewed a gentleman who lives in New York the other day, and he said it's so funny. He goes, the funny thing we joke about here in the city, Fred, is that everybody's met Mamdani. Right? I mean, I saw him last week, and that is that's the secret sauce, isn't it? And that's not new, is it?
Absolutely. And, I think we have some counterexamples. Deja Fox, a very, good person, it seems, nothing against her, but she really did try to go the I'm an influencer, I'm TikTok famous route. She didn't really offer anything new. And I have a piece out in The Hill yesterday sort of discussing what I think the differences are. And I think Mamdani looked around and, whether or not you think his policies can get through, I think, that's going to be a challenge for him. But he looked around and asked, what do my neighbors need? What does my community need? As opposed to, what does my audience already think and want, and how can I parrot that to them to go viral? And I do think Democrats, have leaned so heavily into influencers. We were talking about EDM before the show started, and I was just in Berlin at Berghain, an EDM club, very sort of notorious for being choosy with their line and their aesthetic, and they want edgy people, authenticity. And I think Democrats could actually learn a little bit from that, not to be exclusionary, but to have the voices that we do elevate and the creators that we do empower have that edge that actually shapes culture, as opposed to parrots institutional voices, because that didn't work in 2024. And we have to acknowledge that and reckon with it, and not just dump millions of dollars into that problem.
Well, that's it. You have to be an authentic self. I think that's one of the things that I've seen as I've watched Mondani run. Obviously, I'm not close to it. I live in Missouri, for God's sake. But he is who he is. He's genuine. He's warm. He's very comfortable talking to people. He's comfortable crossing cultural borders, which I think was a big part of his campaign. As he moved his way through New York, it was, the city, as you go from one neighborhood to the next, it's a different culture. He's shown to be somebody who's comfortable in those environments. And I think that matters too, doesn't it?
Absolutely. I'm here in the city, and so I've been following it super closely. I think, you see Cuomo and Eric Adams now putting out their own videos, and it falls flat because you can see from like the human interaction shown in those videos that this is somebody who fits, who's taken the time, who's resonating on a different and deeper level. So absolutely. And I think, obviously him walking the entire city, a creative move, not just a digital move, right? Obviously they got digital cuts of it, but that really meant something to people, I think. And it's obviously reminiscent of AOC. And I think of those shoes that she had that we all saw that were so worn out from her knocking doors on that campaign when nobody had heard of her. And I would caution, people that want to run a viral campaign because they see AOC as an influencer, to remember that that's not how she actually started this all.
Right. I mean, there's work to it. And I kind of, that's the next one too, there's another wrong lesson to learn, I think. And it does go against the board. And I'd love to see your position, but it does also feel like there's been so much of a leaning into where you have youth. But there is a thing about experience as well. Mamdani is also a state legislator, right? He didn't just fall out of a tree. He's been doing some work. He's a businessman. I mean, I know you've got strong opinions about if we overthink the youth part. It's not just youth, is it? It's also about a new way of thinking, isn't it?
I agree, right? I think young voters have something to offer and young candidates have something to offer, but what they have to offer is not just that they're young, it's that they grew up in a context at a time, in an environment in America that shapes them uniquely to have different ideas about how we should do all this, how we should govern, how our policies should look like. And I was interviewing Shannon Watts, who, I love, and she was sort of said a line that really resonated that, people seem to think, 50 plus is over the hills and, that's old. And it's like, we don't need everyone to be 80 in Congress, but that doesn't mean we have to jump down 60 years and have them all be 20 either, right? Like there's all those decades in between. So I think, sure, is it bad for folks to hold on to power? Does it feel like folks like Dick Durbin, kind of missed the moment on some of these fights that we should have maybe push much harder on? Absolutely. Does that mean that, any random high schooler with a TikTok should suddenly be the voice of the Democratic Party? I personally think no. And I think young voters know that that's not true either. And I think they don't really find it to resonate. If anything, I think it's almost a dupe where a bunch of older people look at that and they're like, oh, good. Like the young ones are on our side. This is what we want them to be saying.
The youth.
But, those are like very handpicked, selected voices that actually I don't think have the same cachet among their own, cohort.
And as Gen X, this is a resident Gen Xer right now, and I think I've got Mark Valley coming, who's also, we are. It's funny how we joke how there's surveys will come out and say, who Boomer, Millennial, Gen Z. It's like, hey, we're here, and that's the thing. There is a lot of some worldly experience that goes to it as well. I guess we also have to circle around on that, sticking to the New York theme. And we brought up Cuomo and suddenly we're seeing a lot of independents, right? We're seeing, the America Party with whatever that's going to be with Elon Musk. And I'm not even going to deign to say that's real, but do you think is there a chance as a test for Democrats, or how do you see that playing out, especially where you are right there in New York, as we see both Adams and Cuomo thinking they could still get on the ballot that way?
Yeah, look, I mean, I think Elon Musk has no follow through. He's just, a PR machine, puts it out, never held accountable by the media, never follows through. But I think here in New York, it is a model that I see becoming more and more relevant to run on an independent line as opposed to some sort of credible, robust third party developing. I do think, especially for people with higher name recognition, we may see more and more of that across the country where, both parties are so unpopular in this moment that running under either ticket comes with so much baggage. And I think that independent lane, if you can craft your own narrative and tell your own story, is compelling to folks. At the presidential level, I don't know that I see that really happening the same way. I think we'll still continue, unfortunately, to see the spoilers, which, by the way, of course, where's Jill Stein? Where are all those people in this moment? Of course, they've vanished to go get, who knows?
Something I've been talking about a lot, and I'd love to get your take on it, is, we see the polls that say Democrats are 30% approval or negative approval, but then we're seeing our candidates perform. Abigail Spanberger's up by like two double digits right now in Virginia. Mikey Sherrill's up by double digits. Mamdani's lit a fire in a lot of folks. We're seeing some really strong candidates. They're doing well. Do you think there's a disconnect between it? Kind of like I joke a lot about when you ask people if they want to save democracy. Well, that means very different things to different people. Republicans saving democracy is different than Democratic saving democracy. Do you think there's this actually just maybe a sort of a frustration with the leadership of the party and a lack of a fight? Is it more of a frustration of that than is the brand really hurting?
I think, Democrats have an opportunity, and not to non-answer, I think you're right that the numbers are low, but there's no concrete person or set of candidates or slate at this point or platform to dislike to that extent. We have no control of government at this moment. So I think a lot of things are going to be able to sort of be leveraged in that sense and say everything you don't like, Republicans really do own, and boy, do they own it. I mean, and so I think there's opportunity for the party to have conversations. One of the things I've been working on more recently is I do feel like too much is driven by social media and online discourse in the party. Even just an example, this Sydney Sweeney thing, right? Like,
oh my God,
it's totally valid. I spent 10 years in higher education, and I think you learn how to talk in a classroom in a very specific way that, adheres to certain rules and certain power dynamics. And I think that's valuable. And I've gotten exposed to new thinking and certain voices that maybe I wouldn't hear as loudly in the real world. And so there's value in that. You can't take that and then put that into how we're talking to folks and voters about every single thing. Like, one viral think piece doesn't mean every Democrat should jump on it. And I think the goal for a lot of folks is to go viral as opposed to actually say stuff that makes a lot of sense to most people. So I do think that, we'll have to see a little bit of change from the party in that regard.
And I think we need candidates that are genuine. We're going to need candidates that run as themselves. I mean, for what it's worth, we did see that with AOC. She sparked a fire because she is her. Mamdani is genuine. I mean, there does seem to be a hunger for candidates who are running who aren't just talking points and bullet points and moving away from the DC consultant class, aren't there?
And I think some things really ring hollow. Like, not to pick on Eric Swalwell, who I think has his own sort of creative stuff he puts out, but he just put out a gym video. It's not particularly impressive. He doesn't look particularly, he look like the gym bros putting out that content. It looks like somebody on his team was like, oh, we're losing with young men, which, we can do a footnote on because Trump is actually cratering with young voters even 6 months into his second term. But, and put it out there. It's so inauthentic. And then, I was just saying, guys, can we stop putting out, I don't want to see one more Democratic influencer at the gym. It's like, it's a little bit sort of like, it doesn't come across at all.
Isn't he challenging Markwayne Mullen to a bench press contest? Like, what the hell is going on?
And the thing is, if you've seen it go viral somewhere else and you're copying it, that's a good sign to not do that. That's not authentic. And, I had in my comments, all these people, let's not criticize Democrats. But it's no. Now's the time to have these conversations on policy, on aesthetics, on the messaging that we need to put out there. We have to have those productive conversations without screaming at each other, tearing each other down. Anytime anybody offers any nuance to the conversation about where Democrats need to go, what they've been doing wrong, it's, a meltdown on social media. And I think it's very hard for people to just lean into that and say, I'm going to be strong and I'm going to put my thinking out there for the benefit of the party, right? I mean, I think the goal of everyone offering those takes is not to bash, it's to say, this really isn't working and you may not realize that.
I think I saw that in the Pete Buttigieg backlash when Pete, and I thought was a very nuanced take. And there is real concern, and then you see others who are actually trans individuals are saying, no, that's a good take. Actually, I mean, we're going to have to figure out the litmus test. That all these things are going to have to go by the wayside as much as we can, or we're not going to succeed, are we?
Absolutely, because look, and maybe some people are incredibly authentic in their critique there, but I think Buttigieg didn't need to go all the way in and say that most reasonable people agree that it's unfair to have trans athletes compete in sports. Whatever, I understand people taking issue with that one specific line, but I think his overall point is a popular one, that this should be left to schools and communities. And by the way, why are Democrats, national Democrats, weighing in on these sort of details of every single thing? That's where they lose the game. At the same time, I do think Buttigieg, right? The people criticizing him are doing it. They're like these far leftists to some extent that always are going to bash Democrats to go viral. And that is just, that's their model. That's what they're going to do. They find it much more interesting than focusing on the Trump administration. They find it much more interesting than focusing on the decline of our democracy happening minute by minute every day. And, that's, again, not necessarily a group that I think Democrats should cave to in the future. I think they have in the past.
That's a great place to wrap up. I agree. We agree. I don't actually just invite guests I agree with, by the way. It just has to work out that way.
I can tell the comments are going to be wild.
It's my circle. Oh, you'll love it. We have a great crowd. You're going to love it. They love talking to us. We have the usual suspects, Vern and Nick, and so we have the best community around. Too Late to Cancel. You love it. So Kaivan, thank you so much. Where can people find you is the most important thing. I think producer Katie has been telling us, but where can they find you, bro?
Yes, thank you. On my own YouTube at Kaivan Comments. I'm on Substack, just my name, and on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, all my name, Kaivan Shroff. Thank you so much for having me.
Super. That's good seeing you again, my friend. We'll have to get you back here again. You're stuck with us now.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Cheers. Have a great day. Oh, another great conversation. There is a lot to talk about in this topic. And as we're getting into campaign season, as candidates are stepping forward, we're going to have to figure out who they can win. The one thing I counsel people when they look at congressional races especially is that candidates have to run their district. And that district's going to be different everywhere they run. So we're going to have to figure that out that nobody gets attacked. But I need to shift gears because it's a lot of politics today. But nonetheless, so we've got a great panel. As always, we always have a great panel. Come on, let's be honest. And we do a great job. So we're going to have a wonderful panel today, and we're going to do the thing where we bring back a friend, an old guest who's done something really cool lately. We're going to talk about that, but also a new friend. And we've got a great panel. So JJ, let's bring him on, introduce him. Of course, it's Mark Valley, not Ballet. Mark Valley, my favorite actor. Friend. Oh wait, we're doing the thread.
Hey, Fred.
Mark Valley's back after hiking across Spain, and then a new friend, Kathryn Gongaware. It's so good to have you here, friends. It's welcome to the show. Welcome to Too Late to Cancel.
Thanks, Fred.
Yeah, thanks.
Kathryn, welcome to the show. First timer. It's great to see you. Where are you at, Kathryn? You in Chicago?
Yes, I am.
The Chicago thing.
Yes, freshly back in Chicago from Iowa, so happy to be back.
Oh, yeah, I can see it. Iowa, though, is shockingly nice. I mean, were you in Cedar Rapids? Where were you?
I was actually in Des Moines. I do love Cedar Rapids, and I do love Iowa for comedy, but I was there for a couple days with family. So once again, happy to be back.
I get it. We get a lot of the comedians running from, we had Chicago last week and then LA comedians, and then we've had a lot of Atlanta comedians with our friend Lace Larrabee. And it's interesting how the communities move around. How long have you been in Chicago?
I have been in and out of Chicago for, I guess, like 10, 12 years at this point. I haven't been exclusively stationary here, but I've been here for a while.
I love it. And Mark, you're in upstate New York now, right?
Yes, I'm up here on the very awkward Canadian border right now.
Suddenly awkward.
Yeah.
So not as
exactly.
Not as warm as it used to be. Or, well, it's never really been warm. I guess that's the wrong term completely to use. What dragged you back to New York?
Well, I'm from this region originally, and I have family up here, and I've always just sort of spent time up here. And I think New York needs my vote a little more than California right now. At least the 21st district does. So here I am.
Yeah, well, I was going to say the upstate districts certainly do. They really do. You just did the craziest thing. You just hiked across northern Spain. How far did you walk? It's the what's it called again? The Camino Norte.
Yeah, it was the Camino Norte. The big one is the Camino Francis, and they're about 800 kilometers roughly each. And this one you kind of walk. You start like on sort of on the French border over the Pyrenees, and then you walk along, through those beautiful, beautiful seaside villages and make it to Santiago. Yeah.
What drove that?
I had a gig writing for this a Catholic newspaper called the Boston Pilot. So I had a weekly column, and it's the Codex of a Lapsed Catholic, where I'm kind of reimagining or revisiting my Catholic upbringing, in a historical perspective. But it was a little strange doing it as an American, as you can imagine. We're being treated a little bit differently,
Yeah.
overseas now. It's like a disgraced celebrity in a way, but not like Cosby or something. It's more like Pete Rose,
Right.
What I mean?
It's a little dirty, like
Just
yeah, you're
looking
kind
at you
of
like little
not
more
quite canceled, just kind of like setback. Your
a little more
reservation got lost.
disappointment than disgust right now. But yeah,
Yeah, I can see that. And Kathryn, like your story is you do yoga in jail. I mean, that is a different thing than comedy.
Certainly part of my story, yes. I've been teaching yoga in Cook County Jail for like 10 years now. Wow.
I know people ask you a lot. I've seen your shows. Why you do it, and we talk about the inequality. We talk about racism in the system and all. I'm just curious, how'd you end up there? Like, what was the process that you went from probably a yoga enthusiast to suddenly teaching it to women in jail and men?
Yeah, it was not intentional, and I'm very transparent about that. I
Yeah.
didn't come in not just even to like save myself from the sort of saviorship conversation, but it just like it wasn't. It truly wasn't intentional. I was teaching yoga at a time that was pretty difficult for me and in my life, and one of my buddies wanted to go see about this yoga for recovery program that she thought was like a 12-step. She wanted to teach yoga for addiction recovery. And I was in pretty much what I would call a parachute optional state in my life. And when she was like, fuck it, like I'll do whatever, I'll see whatever, I'll go to anything and be anywhere. Mostly to avoid, processing my own sort of demons. And we went to a meeting that happened to be actually Yoga for Recovery, which was a program where they were teaching yoga to women in Cook County. So I stuck around and then went to shadow a few and just felt like weirdly comfortable with the work. And maybe not weirdly, but in retrospect, obviously, things make a lot more sense. But at the time, it was honestly by accident.
Yeah. And the justice system needs it. We need it. It is a mess, isn't it? And Chicago's no exception.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the things that at least now I can say is very clear and transparent is to me is, once you see about, it's not inequality, it's very systemic and intentional success of of these programs to keep Black and brown people and largely Black people incarcerated in this country for a number of reasons, including free labor, among many. But once you visualize that, and even if I didn't have sort of the words at the time, it would be, I think, pretty difficult to turn away.
It is shocking. I'm good friends with a guy named Tony Messenger who wrote he's a Pulitzer Prize winner for his series of articles and a book he wrote addressing the fact that the system is addressed against not just Black and brown people, but also poor people. Poverty is basically being penalized as well because they pay you're charged money to be there. If you can't pay for being there, they put you back in there again. It's really a deadly loop. I'm sure you see folks that you've probably, maybe if you taught them a year and a half ago, you're frustrated when you see them back again, don't you?
So actually, the one thing that I will accredit to not myself or not our program specifically, although one could, but yoga is what I would say is I've been teaching in jail for 10 years. The recidivism rate in Cook County, so the return to jail rate is anywhere from 70% on a good year to 90% on any given year, which obviously means 9 in 10 people that leave jail return. And I have never seen the same face twice. So. Wow. I think that's a testament to a number of things, including people being transferred, sentenced. Jail is very transitory as it is. So that's not specific. That's not to say people that I've taught have not gone and been incarcerated again or behind bars or tried. But I have never seen the same face twice. And I do think that has something to do with yoga.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's a mind space thing. Mark, I talk about mind, talk about place and space. I mean, I read your post while you're on the Camino. It is an interesting experience, isn't it? It is a pilgrimage. I think we'd be remiss if we didn't mention that it's a Catholic pilgrimage thing. What was it? What did you feel going there? I mean, it's more than just a hike, isn't it?
Definitely more than a hike. I mean, it's even more than a Catholic pilgrimage. I mean, a lot of these, pilgrimages obviously go back before Christianity. including this one. It was once a pagan walk that went all the way to what they thought was the end of the earth, which was near Gibraltar. But one of the things that I kind of picked up at the time was how in terms of Catholicism and Christianity, is how accepting it was of so many different cultures and so many different other pagan religions, that it sort of brought them into the fold and included them. It wasn't always this kind of dogmatic rules-based organization. It was a little more welcoming of different ideas. I mean, Catholic used to mean well-rounded, the actual word. So and also my knees are a little sore. It was a long way. It's a long way to walk.
There's
And you start hearing, Kathryn, as a yoga teacher, you're probably.
I was gonna say, I know a yoga teacher right now.
Yeah, but those moments where you're meditating, or everybody's got to be quiet for 1 minute, or shavasana or something, and you start hearing these voices. After like a 6-hour day, they can be a little. You start yelling back at yourself, and then you achieve like an equilibrium.
I see. How does? Yeah, I mean, eventually, it's the voices in your head yelling at you. It's actually your knees yelling at you. It makes actually a lot of sense. I have fake knees, so they're very tinny. Kathryn, going back to that though, and kind of what Mark says, like, how does that? So my curiosity goes to, how does that experience feed into your comedy? I mean, I love your byline in your bio, you Santos, which you talk. You have racial takes that don't make you uncomfortable, but how does that experience feed your comedy? Does it feed your comedy, or does it set you back?
I think largely, I don't know, I guess you could say some combination of the two, because I definitely struggle with the fact that, like, I want my comedy to say something, and at the end of the day, it's funny, right? So, like, I definitely, like, personally struggle with that from time to time, but the truth is, obviously, it has had a huge impact on who I am as a person, which has an impact on the content. So I do talk a lot about, racial dynamics in this country. And I think more specifically in my life, because I move in a lot more, I think, mixed company and non-white spaces than many white people do. So as opposed to sort of like stereotype that in a way that I feel like has been done sort of time and again. And I have, my jokes sort of about white people and non-white people as well. But it's more like what my experience is like being a white woman moving through jail, and many people's responses to that, and like my ability to walk out of jail being one of the whiter things, right, in that sort of, dynamic. So I try to play a little bit with that. I obviously try to play a little bit with like the dynamics of we've all committed crime. I fully and fundamentally believe that, especially in response sometimes to folks, whether it be crowd work or after shows, that are like, oh, why would you teach yoga to criminals? And it's like, I mean, how many DUIs do you have that your dad like wrote you off, just got a lawyer for? It's always from that person, that kind of energy. But I try to play with that in a way that still makes like the content digestible, because I certainly can come at risk, I think, in some ways of talking about this stuff is not just like savoury, but like aggressive, and like people called me a race traitor before and things like that. And I don't care what you call me, but live, the show should be funny.
Right.
Ability to say that this is stand up and not a TED Talk, right? So
and Mark's an actor. He puts on characters, and you move through different spaces too, Mark. I mean, again, I love these kind of conversations because you were moving in a different space too. I mean, easing into the northern Spain. I mean, you met people from how many countries probably, and I imagine quite a few.
At least
is it a different hat as you talk?
Yeah, at least a dozen. I mean, I kind of, I speak a little bit of some other languages, so it's a good experience to kind of brush up on German and so forth. But a lot of white people out on that Camino. I got to tell you,
I imagine
there's a lot of languages and nationalities, but there's just a lot of white folks walking along.
Variations of white. No, I can see that actually. There's a panel pick. There's a panel pick that alludes to that, by the way. We do the panel picks in a minute here. I'm sure JJ's eager, but I can imagine that as a very white thing if there is ever one in the past. But
so you do get to really, but in that respect, you start to see the differences in nationalities as opposed to ethnic groups or points, origins, or wherever you came from. So you definitely get to see some of the different attitudes of. The French, how they're different from the Germans, they're different from the Spanish, and so forth. And I write about that a little bit, what the differences were that I perceived.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's a weird moment for us internationally and here at home. You know, Kathy, one of you buried in your bio is recovering consultant. So we talk about yoga to comedy, but how did you go from consulting to comedy?
Mental illness is my
Well, they both feed the same thing, I think.
Yeah, I mean, and truly, I went into consulting right after grad school. I did a master's in finance, and then went to go do management consulting with Accenture. And I just like first day wanted to quit. I mean, I knew I had been on sort of like the achievement track. I've been very privileged to have the education that I've had in my life, and I just knew how to accomplish that. Like study, was valedictorian in high school, like went to UVA, did the thing, got a consulting job. Came up here to do it. And then I walked through the door and was like, no, this is actually not at all for me. Like I'm immediately bored. So I stuck it out for like a year and a half, and it had nothing to do with, honestly, like the clients, the people, the company. It just like, I was motivated to have a harder life, I guess.
I always feel like
I get it.
I always feel like men in their 50s feel the need to consult, feel the need to be a consultant.
If it's not too late to cancel if my AirPods don't quit or something happens bad. So I'm back again. Is everybody there? Hey, how you guys doing?
We're good.
Every week something freaking happens. This week my phone rang and my AirPods said, "We're done."
But that was a very fair evaluation. Yes, I mean, consult on many things, and honestly, it is a little bit. I'm a very critical, analytical person. In the yoga space, we call that a Virgo, which is also accurate. So, like, I do, and I think it sort of translates into comedy, right? We're supposed to stand on the outside and sort of like give feedback on society.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, aware. So I definitely like have the gene in me to do it. I was just very bored. I was consulting for insurance companies, and I was just like, for what? You know, like truly for what? So I think it was with Michael Che who said, like, when someone asked him like why you do comedy and why you do stand up, he's like, if you have to ask, you're not gonna know. You know, like it's just kind of in you. And I think it always was in me. I always wanted to do SNL and all, but like I didn't have the track, I didn't have the path. I didn't think you could just do that. You know, so at some time, and I had enough like rugs pulled out from under me, you know, enough loss, honestly, lost a few people in pretty quick succession. And it's like, once you've got nothing, not necessarily nothing left to lose, but once that idea even starts to creep into your mind, I think it's like, okay, what if I just do a set, you know?
Yeah. Do you ever do like a quick 5 before your class? It must be tempting though. Before your yoga class?
Do like a set and then go teach a class?
Well, it must be tempting as a comedian. You got a group right there. You know, you could try out some new material on them. You know what I mean? I mean, it's like, listen, and everybody relax. I want to try something on you. Yeah.
You know, I actually think there are plenty of yoga teachers that are better than that at me. Like I go to classes and people are a lot funnier. Obviously, I'm kind of like one-off here and there, but I think I've tried to reserve a lot of like creative energy for the stage, since like I do teach yoga, I do run a nonprofit. I am creating a web series. I do run a podcast. Like I don't know if it's made me like less funny in other sort of professional instances anyway, but I would say that that's, at least for yoga, probably true. We also like have really tired jokes as teachers that we replay.
It seems like as a Generation X, now it seems comedy's become kind of specialized. Like when I was younger, it almost seemed like there was a funny guy at work. You know, and over the past 30 years, everybody told the funny guy at work to do stand up. You know what I mean? So people kind of serious at work, and then you have this specialized, you know, situation where people are doing comedy.
But then again, you've got, so if you know, Kathryn, Mark went from the Army. Mark is a West Point grad like me, and then an Army officer. Mark, you went from the Army. I saw the picture on top of Brandenburg Gate in '89, and then you're acting. The next thing you know, you're 20. How many years were you on TV for one show alone?
I mean, I acted for about 30 years. Yeah.
Jeez. Yeah. How long are you Jack Devereaux?
Jack Devereaux, 3 years. I was Jack Devereaux. Actually, my character spent the last 6 months in prison while they were renegotiating my contract. So I've never been to prison, but I played
someone who was.
And then I went into the prison shower and I came out as somebody else. They recast me. So that's actually.
That is a twist right there. What was your longest character? Was that your longest character or was Boston?
Probably Boston Legal for 3 years. I did Boston.
Yeah.
Played an attorney.
Yeah.
Well, played like a right wing guy, you know?
You did. Well, that
a
whole
very
show was
very
with-
conservative guy. Then people would meet me and they'd be, "Oh, you're not really what I thought you were." You know.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
that was interesting in terms of the crossover of your professional lives.
Oh, me and Fred.
yeah,
No,
you,
no,
yeah.
as an actor,
For you as an actor, you've been out protesting. I saw pictures of protest. You've been very active in the movement right now, and yeah, it is very different, isn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
All right, JJ, we're there. Let's bring up the panel picks. I went random this week, guys. So, Kathryn, you're newbie, and I know Mark's taking notes. This is what he does as an actor. And so you're taking it. But the panel picks is not really fancy. We throw things up and we just rap on whatever's going on. And oh, there's a typo. Oh my God. You're so fired, JJ. It's the hill you'll die on. You'll die on. All right, so Kathryn, you're up first. Pick one.
Okay.
It's supposed to be the hill you'll die on, whatever that
Yeah,
may
the
be.
hill you'll die on. Okay, I could do the hill you'll die on.
All right, what is the hill you'll die on? I picked these because both of you have strong opinions about things, and I thought, what is the hill you'll die on, Kathryn?
Yes, there's a few. I would say, oh, here's a hill I'll die on. If you are apologizing and you don't use the words "I'm sorry," it's not an apology.
That's fair. That's actually fair.
Or I apologize, but if you claim that an explanation is an apology, it is not. I will die on that hill.
I work in politics, so I understand.
I think,
it is.
yeah.
Yeah, I agree. All right, what's your hill you'll die on, Mark?
My hill I'll die on is I've noticed. I think that if you are sitting next to somebody, like in a restaurant or something, that you need to be talking, or else it seems like you're just listening in on somebody. I think those people should be. If you go into a restaurant and you're just quiet with 2-3 people, or by yourself sitting next to other people while they're talking, you should be kicked out. And,
that's unique in a
like
time of individual travel.
Unless it's a coffee shop specifically for people who want to, eavesdrop or whatever. Yeah, that's my thing. That's my latest thing.
That is an unusual thing. That's a very unusual thing. I know you have strong opinions about martinis too, Kathryn. So is it a little too? Is that your bougie thing or not?
Certainly, yes. Yeah, I have a couple of bougie preferences, and and an accurate gin martini is one of them. But I suppose another hill is that, or not a protest peeve, but I could protest these. I really hate a tiki bar.
And where did your hate for tiki bars come from, Kathryn? where did this
develop?
Know.
I think it's partially because I don't like rum, so it's coming from a completely biased.
Well, that's true. Yes.
The drinks feel sugary. They feel kitsch. And I know that's the whole point, and there's plenty of kitsch and fun and joyful things that I enjoy, and tiki bars are just not one of them. So I think especially in a city like Chicago, I understand why they exist because it's cold here and they're underground, but I cannot make the connection between the logical why and enjoying them. Don't like them.
There's a lot of tiki bars in upstate New York at this point. I mean, you left LA behind, Mark, right?
Actually, it's crazy. They have one in this town my hometown where I'm not from. And there's this little river that goes into a bigger river. And on the side of this river, they got a tiki bar. And you can fit 10 people in there. But for years, that place was heaving, packed. And fights were breaking out at the tiki bar. The police had to go. Why. The police had to go to the tiki bar because if you're in the tiki bar, you're fine. But outside the tiki bar, that's where bad things were starting to happen. So I think they should just make bigger tiki bars.
No.
Okay. All right, that's unusual decision. All right, bring up the panel picks again, JJ. Maybe I did it all wrong. Oh, it's scratch got anyways. All right, you get to pick one there, Mark.
Let's go with I don't really.
I do protest peeves. I would pick protest peeves.
Have you guys gone?
You've gone to some protests lately. I saw you some pictures that you were in California for protests, weren't you, Mark?
I'll pick protest peeves. Yeah.
All right. Do you have any?
Yeah. Here's my protest peeve: is you've got to I think people need to they need to you need to work out a ratio of protest to filming the protest. You know what I mean? There's some people with the phones that are just running. Like, there's like 12 people chasing down one person who's kicking a can on the road. You know, like, oh, look at that cool can going down the road. Everybody's standing around. It's be the change. Don't film the change. You know what I mean?
That's a solid protest, Pete. Kathy, you done any protest? I think your whole life is one. I mean, you protest for a living almost, aren't you?
Yes. I don't know if this is a fair protest peeve, but I suppose with law enforcement in mind, like, I don't think ICE and law enforcement should be able to wear masks. And if they can't, then I also think maybe protesters shouldn't. Like, I think we should all be standing on who and what we all like believe. I understand much more the risk of protesters wearing or not wearing masks and not sort of covering, in so much as like the way that politics is being run and tried, and the way that people use your name and face and make an example out of you. And I get it from a law enforcement perspective, but you signed up to the job and you should be responsible for the way in which you move. And that very much specifically for me includes ICE. So
I feel very strongly about that. I'm with you on that one. It is infuriating to me.
You should have to answer to your community. You should have to be able to be shamed and guilted, and you should be responsible to, like, that's where we've, I think, run into so many problems with technology. It's been such a beautiful thing, but the ability to be pulled up and out of a community and not endure the shame of the way that you move when we live in community is a huge piece.
I agree. But I mentioned I think we should have a choice of who should wear a mask. You know, I mean, there's probably some people that are just, ugly looking young men that just don't really want to look at anyway.
As an aesthetic, as an aesthetic, that'd be perfect.
You can go ahead and wear a mask, but everybody else.
Well, you know that most of the ICE agents are. You know that's just like they feel svelte and like Batman. Because
they feel badass. Yeah. Like they're heroes. I mean, they're really just trying to paint themselves as heroes. But yeah, it infuriates me because I know what men in masks are usually up to. I was in Iraq 4 times. I know what the men in masks are up to, and it's
and to that degree, right? If there's a special ops, if there's a reason, right, that a military unit or something, like I would yield sort of my, not just knowledge, but the fact that, like, if there's a special forces situation in which masks are needed to complete a security operation for whether it's for whatever purposes, I guess I would yield and to whatever you think on that, being that you have more personal experience and professional experience with it. But law enforcement agents should not be wearing them in this country.
No, but that brings up something. There's something else I wanted to bring up. There's a whole genre of theater, like in Japan they call it kabuki, and the Italians have a type of theater where you're wearing a mask. And I remember doing exercises like training as an actor, and when you wear the mask, the reason you do it is you act much more expressively, when you're wearing a mask. Your inhibitions are lowered as well when you're wearing a mask. That's probably, I'm not a fan of masks, in theater either. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it does have an effect of releasing your inhibitions.
Yeah.
Well, I think we see that. We see the aggression, right?
I think artistically, that's one thing. I think from a law enforcement perspective, again, yes, I think it does also the same.
The same problem, exactly. Breaking the window, they're unleashed for much less of repercussions for their actions, and we're seeing an aggressiveness that is unnecessary and unheard of. It's this has not been a comedy panel, which is fine, because there's just a lot of serious issues right now. I mean, it is infuriating to me. I mean, I have written on it how much I hate it. Again, because my experience of being in a country that had a dictatorship for 35 years and the aftermath of that. I mean, I have extremely strong feelings about that, because this is the United States of America, and that shouldn't be the way we do business. So one last pick. Go ahead.
One deodorant. Put it on.
Well, that's fair. Is that an issue in Chicago more than other places, or?
I'd say comedy, protest, yoga. Put it on. Put it on.
I agree. One last pick. Bring it back up, JJ. Yeah, I know. Are you single now? I mean, are you both single, or I'm engaged? No, okay. Well, then we won't be hiking dates, because it's just outrageous. And you've got the bad knees now, Mark, so you won't be doing. Have any of you guys had either of you guys had some long losing streaks? I know acting is a tough gig, isn't it, Mark?
Yes. that one stings right there. Yeah.
But you can laugh about it now. No, anyway, Kathryn.
Yeah. I can laugh about it.
Yeah.
Losing
Yay.
losing streaks.
Oh,
Yeah,
you know, I'm in
probably
politics.
probably voiceovers. I once in a while do a voiceover audition. I never get them. I don't even know why I do it. Now I do it because it's one of those things that's just become a process. You know,
Yeah.
like one of those things you do, and you don't even know why you do it anymore. Yeah, so I've had a long losing streak with voiceovers.
I love it.
But
Kathryn,
I'm in the
any
film.
losing
I'm in the
streaks?
film Brideheart, though. If anybody wants to watch.
All
I
right,
play
good.
a-
Well, there you go. See, I know. I
play a
told you you're still
Canadian. I
working.
played a what do you call it? A campaign manager. In a
That's
film
right. You
in
told us
March.
about that. That's
That was
right.
the last
That's
one.
right.
So
That
I
was a
haven't acting. I'm still keeping the streak going, but voiceovers, no way. Yeah.
There you go. Kat, you have any bad runs for a while there? I mean, you changed jobs a couple times. Now you got 19 jobs.
Yes. I mean, the losing streaks are really like the mic streaks, I think. Like if
Yeah.
I haven't been submitting or like, even now I've been taking more of a stand-up break to film this web series. So I've been getting up on shows like sort of more last minute and that that continues to do its job in humbling us. So I think the streaks wise are more like if you wear I always have a streak if I like bomb in a shirt and then I try to bring it back, like then my energy, the shirt, stinks on you. So I got to stop doing that. I always think I can change the energy.
Just let it go. Just let it go. Well, I work in politics, and if you've worked in politics more today, more often than not, the job ends in a firing of some kind. So it's great. So I don't recommend that highly. I don't recommend politics as a business, nonetheless. Look, we're going to get to the end here. We're liberty to go. We're going to be on time for a change in this show. We rarely are. Most important question we ask in every show, of course, is Kathryn, where can people find you? Katie's been putting up some banners. What's the best place to track you down?
Probably most up to date would be Instagram, pursuant to what I just said in terms of booking things last minute right now. But I post all that stuff. I've got a website attached to that as well. You can watch my web series on YouTube. It's called Not Flexible, and I think it actually comes up when you search it that way now as well. I've got a stand-up special out as well, but this is kind of what I'm promoting right now. We're filming the 5th episode right now. It got a little teeny bit of funding from the first episode. So we're filming 4 more. The full thing will be out in September. And then our podcast is coming back, Beyond Bars, where we talk to people with experience with the justice system. So Mark, maybe we'll have you on, given that you were, in a prison shower for 45 minutes as well.
6 months. 6 months he was in prison. Jack Devereaux. Yeah. And Mark,
you can probably find me.
Yeah.
I love it. Mark, where can we hunt you down? Substack, right?
Just go to Substack. It's Mark Valley at Substack. Everything else is probably on there. Mark Valley at Instagram. There's another Mark Valley though. He's a musician from I don't know.
Oh.
I think he's from near Chicago or something. Gotta find this guy somewhere. But anyway, yeah, I'm on Substack mostly.
Well, there you go.
Or the Asian buffet on Thursdays, all you can eat. That's where you're
the best, small. We've got the best delivery place. We could go on. Anyways, guys, thanks for joining us. I appreciate your time. It's been a long day for everybody, so thank you so much. Great meeting you, Kathryn. Good seeing you again, my friend Mark. We appreciate you joining the show.
Thanks, Fred. See you guys.
Cheers. I love it. Another great week, another great show, a lot of great people. I can't appreciate everybody. As always, we appreciate you guys being here. We love seeing our community here. Say hi. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on YouTube. As I remind you, we now have a very, very, very cool website. Thanks to JJ again. That's toolatetocancel.com. It's toolatetocancel.com. Go there. It links out to our Substack. It links out to the shows, our latest episodes, all the stuff we're doing. If you want to see new shows of the original OG podcast, that's On Democracy with FP Wellman. That is every Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Midas Touch Network. Had a great one this week talking to a Texas state rep who is dealing with the crazy redistricting down there. Can't miss that. And then we're doing these new things in the hot seats again. Those are periodic interviews where I interview people running for the Senate, for Congress, or even governor. So that's all on the Midas Touch Network. But always join us right here on the On Democracy channel, On Democracy Network. As always, thank you for being here. Thank you for our amazing guest. And thank you so much for the incredible team. There's an incredible team that keeps this going. And I tease JJ a lot because I can. But JJ, Katie, of course, intern Satchel, and of course, we're great to see our good friend Kyler. So again, thanks for joining us. We'll see you right back here next Sunday, the same bad channel, same bad place. In the meantime, the shit's never going to stop you guys, but you got to keep in the fight. We'll see you next week.